Hogstye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hogsty. It is Alex, your host, as we all sit along the East Coast and South, getting ready for what apparently is going to be a huge snowstorm here this weekend.
Not
Yep.
Texas.
No,
It's
it's going to
supposed
hit
to be.
Texas.
It's well, not where I am. I'm in South Texas. It's supposed to be cold by our standards, which would not be cold by your standards. But I sat through. I guess I can't say what I sat through, but
A super
people
top
are
secret meeting.
sort of. Um, but it's safe to say people are panicking because the temperature is going to be in the 30s. That's what happens when you live in South Texas.
Wow,
Oh,
that's
they're
like,
just panicking because
man.
it's warm. They're panicking because it's warm, Dave.
It's not warm. I also
That's not
understand,
warm.
no. The power grid down here is not really set up for,
No,
harsh
that
winter storms.
is
That's
the
that's the real
universal
problem.
problem there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, DC, they're calling for between 3 inches and 7 feet. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, we're getting about 1 inch to about 3,785
Right,
inches.
right.
Anywhere in between there, right?
If you all saw the day after tomorrow, it might be that, or it could be nothing. We don't know.
I have always said, I think I've told you guys, I could do 75 and sunny 365 days a year.
Oh, sure.
That's what I want. I don't need 4 seasons.
So
I do.
I need seasons.
Yes.
I'm team season, but if I had one temperature, it'd actually be more like 65. I need a
Oh,
reason to have like
65 is frigid.
that
Frigid,
65 is
wow.
perfect. That's what I keep my house at year round is 65. It's a good
If I
temperature.
don't, if I can't wear shorts, this is a problem.
I wear shorts at 40.
That's not a thing in Texas.
I mean,
don't
hell,
even
I've done
own
it
a
at
winter-
30.
Yeah.
I don't even own a winter coat anymore.
Dave, you strike me as the guy who wore shorts in winter in high school.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Now,
And a
I would
hoodie.
also like to point out for all you people out there that I have lived in every possible climate.
Yeah.
Thanks
that's
to the
true.
courtesy of the United States military, I have lived in every possible, but I've been here a while now, and so I am desensitized to the cold now.
What's the
I have-
coldest? Because you've lived in a lot of southern places you've talked about. What is the coldest place you think you've lived in?
Probably Colorado.
Colorado? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colorado
Yeah.
gets cold.
And
'Cause the
DC,
altitude.
I mean, I got caught in a blizzard in DC. One
Oh,
of the worst
sure.
blizzards in DC
96?
history. No, it was
Right.
83.
83. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. That
And I got
one
caught
don't
in the
remember.
96 one too, actually. Yeah, I
Yeah.
lived in DC for that also.
Yeah, I knew you were here in that period of time, so
Yeah.
I assumed it was that. I don't remember the 83 blizzard because I was like 4 months old.
Actually, but I think
Oh,
the
no, I
coldest
remember that.
temperature I've ever been in was in Illinois, though. It was like negative 15 or some crazy
That would
number
make
like
sense
that.
just because that like lakefront stuff.
So I have, to be fair, I have lived in many cold weather climates.
Okay.
I don't like any of them, but
You
I've
typically
lived there.
talk about more the warm weather ones throughout, your career.
Because it makes me far happier. That's why.
Steve was much happier in 120 degrees in an undisclosed desert location.
Oh, yes. I have lived in those desert locations. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
I know
you
you
were
have.
at, you were at
I-
Area 51 too? I must have just missed you.
Well, in my Middle East jaunt that I'm still,
Right.
I believe, under a confidentiality order. I mean, it was in the heat of the summer and it was unfun, shall we say.
Right.
I don't know, Dave, if you did the Middle East in summertime in July, but it is not pleasant.
UAE is during
Middle
during fall and winter months. So I was there when it was mild, but still hot.
I was in undisclosed location X that was in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the desert in July. And
Yeah. Area
I could do
52.
without that.
We'll call it Area
Fine.
52.
whatever it was,
I
I could do without it.
Yeah.
I mean, we use the flag ratings for the temperatures and stuff like that for here at the base. Where the black flag is going to be outside for like 10 minutes, inside for 20 minutes to get some water. Over there where you're talking about, it's probably like 2 black flags and you're outside for 1 minute, inside for 20.
Well, and I mean the people I was deployed with don't so much pay attention to rules like that. So
No, I get you. I get you.
yeah,
I'm just talking about in terms of comparison on the
yeah,
heat.
yeah.
Yes.
Nobody would.
I
You
know.
know, these
I
are the type
yeah.
of people that used to
Yes.
capture camel spiders and scorpions for fun and throw them in jars and watch them fight, and those kind of people.
Sounds like an interesting crowd right there.
I can't talk
Oh
about it
yeah.
on the air, but
No,
I
I
can
know,
tell
I
you off
know.
the air.
I
Yeah.
get it. We've talked many times about things you can't talk about on the air.
Yeah,
There's
not in
rules.
recorded form. I cannot.
Right. Well, let's focus on the things we can talk about, and let's start with the NFL playoffs. Now I'm gonna be honest. I had to do some babysitting for a kid who did not want to watch a lot of football over the weekend, so I really only caught a few minutes of each game. So I'm gonna depend on you guys a lot for this one. But the playoffs happened. 4 games. We're now down to the conference championships, of course. But last week we had the Rams beat the Bears in a nail biter. Seahawks decimating the 49ers. Just a disgusting game from go, if you were rooting for San Francisco at least. Uh, Broncos edging out the Bills in a fun game, and then Patriots beating up on the Texans,
I want to
sadly.
start with the Bills and Broncos,
Okay, we can do that.
and I want to say one sentence. It was not an interception. This is where I
I
want to
agree.
start.
I
The
absolutely
play we're
agree.
talking about, yeah. I mean,
But to Cooks.
the Brandon Cooks was clearly down by contact. His knee was
Yep.
on the ground. He had the ball, and he had been touched by a defender.
His whole
And
body was on the ground before the defender.
His
Had
knee,
at a
touched him.
elbow,
minimum, his
everything. You're
knee,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
at a minimum, his knee and his elbow. And I don't know how the NFL dreams up interception on that. And I'd further point out in the Bears and Rams game, the exact
Yep.
same play happened, and that game was not an interception, and
Correct.
and that cost the Bills the game.
Yep.
It did.
Yep. Bad
You
officiating
know,
cost him
Yes, he
that.
did.
It
I
cost
think it's
Sean
one of the
McDermott
worst.
his job.
I think it's one of the worst calls in NFL history. I know people in our comment section debated. I watched a little bit of it, and they debated whether or not he had full control of the ball, and did the ball caught did the ground cause the ball to move. I hate the NFL's catch rules. The man
Right.
caught the ball, he was down, and then the guy took it out of his hands after he was down.
Well,
End of story.
well, in that scenario, from what I understand, as long as he has control coming down to the ground and he is any part of his knee is down, and as soon as he is touched, that play is over. And that was defined after the Burt Emanuel play back against Philadelphia when
Yep.
he was when it was called when it ended up being called a fumble and it shouldn't have been, but he should have been down, but he wasn't down. I remember that play very vividly. So they made it very clear from that point on. As soon as you have possession, full control, coming down to the ground, your knees down, and you're touched, play is over, regardless if the ground causes any kind of a fumble, what will look like a
Yep.
fumble or anything. You are down, period.
I'm on Team Dave on this.
Absolutely.
But I think the NFL would, and what's really telling again is the same play in the Bears and the Rams game got called correctly. But I think the people who would defend the call would say that the ground can't, that if you have to keep the ball all the way through the ground, which is so dumb. If you have the ball in possession and you're down, that's the end of story. I don't know what the ground has to do with the price of tea in China at all. I
Well,
don't
Well,
get it.
Here's the thing: he did survive the ground anyway. It's moot
yeah,
because like he still has the ball when the guy
Yeah.
pulled it out from him, and he's laying on
correct.
his
Yeah.
back already.
I mean, the
Like,
only worst call I can think of is that Rams and Saints game several years ago.
right, the
Remember?
one that
Yeah.
started the whole "should we allow review"
Yeah.
situation
Yeah.
debate.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, but this one cost the Bill. That game was that was a divisional round playoff game too, was it not? I think
I
it
think
was.
so. I think so.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It
and
still
so
is.
those two calls I think stick out forever in NFL history. And that
And
ref, I
for
don't know who the ref is, but he ought to get fired.
and for those who are sitting there saying, well, he's got to go through the whole process of the catch, that only applies to where
That's
if
what I'm
it's like a
saying
sideline
badly.
catch,
Yeah.
yeah, but if it's like a sideline catch, untouched, you go down to the ground and through that whole process without a football move,
Hmm.
you have to have the full process of the catch all the way through. But if you catch the ball, come through, make a football move, and then come down to the ground, that doesn't apply. When that scenario we're talking about, that doesn't apply either because he was down by contact before he had a chance to do anything else, and he had full possession of the ball.
And I hate the term football move. The lawyer in me says, "What's a football move?" It's
Right.
subjective. Anything can be a football move. Giving you the defender a middle finger could be a football move. I mean, what is a football move?
Well, that's an unsportsmanlike, Steve. That's a different.
Exactly. That's still a football move.
That's true. It is a football move. Yes.
If he makes that move and he gets the unsportsmanlike, then yes, he has made a football move. I guess you're
Yes,
right.
just in a wrong
Well,
one.
I know
but-
I know when I've heard Pereira talk about it. I forget the one they have on the other side for
I lose
CBS
track
side.
of who's who. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that when they talk about plays like that, I've noticed that there's a bit of a differentiate. They differentiate these kind of things a little bit differently, which tells me just how confusing that rule is to begin with. Anyway,
Even they don't understand it.
right? It's exactly
All
what
right.
I gather from that.
I mean, look, the NFL is at a point now, and not to get political, you hear this with the tax code. We need to start over and just write it all from scratch with the NFL rule book.
Burn the rule book and start again. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, you can keep the gist of a lot of it, right? Like we all understand what makes football a good game. 4 downs, 10 yards. We like 99% of that shit we can just keep in there.
Well, can I compare this to if we tried to write the United States Constitution now,
Over again, yeah.
it would never happen. And if it did, it would be 10,000 pages long. It would have a million exceptions and all
Sure.
kinds of things in it. And the beauty of the Constitution is its simplicity in the fact that it basically locks it in absent a massive vote. And so to relate that
Right.
to NFL rulebook, every year they make it more and more complicated and more exceptions. And they get people like me who try to define this stuff and do it badly, and they've made it way more difficult than it needs
Steve,
to be.
are you saying maybe we should just have less lawyers involved in both government
Heck,
and
yes.
the NFL?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, not me. I mean, I need to remain involved, but
I think
Little
we just figured out
self-interest
how
there.
to
I
solve
like it, of
everything.
course.
Yeah.
yeah, I care about me first and foremost. So we got lots to talk about here, so I think we ought to move on. But so I will say that Rams and Seahawks are not 49ers and Seahawks kind of went how we all thought. I don't know if anybody thought 41-6, but we thought the Seahawks.
I mean,
were
I
gonna
was
win it
not
comfortably.
expecting the Seahawks to open up a can of whoop ass in that
Yeah, me neither.
opening drive. Like they were up 17-0 in 5 minutes. It was insane.
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the Rams and the Bears, we all knew was kind of a pick 'em. I picked the Bears. One
we
of you
talked
picked the
about that.
Rams. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Texans and Patriots. I mean, what on earth is CJ Stroud? He's thrown like 7 interceptions the past 2 games, or something crazy, or something like
Seven
that.
turnovers.
7
Wow.
turnovers. Right? 'Cause one
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
fumble. One a fumble. I mean, what happened to that guy? My goodness. And the Steelers should have won last week, and
Yeah.
I mean, and I think if he hadn't thrown 4 interceptions, the Texans might have had a shot at winning this game. I don't understand what happened to that guy.
I think right now when they had I think Slowick, the offensive coordinator in his rookie year, he had the right plan in place. He knew where his strengths were, where his weaknesses were, and he built the offense around that because to have have that kind of a fall off that he had. I get the sophomore stuff from last year, but he wasn't horrendous. But how he played this year and then in the postseason, I mean, it's to me. I get it. I never thought Stroud was ever going to be a top 5 quarterback, maybe barely top 10. I never thought he was
a
going to
plus
be
level quarterback, though.
Yeah, right. I thought he was a guy you could build around. So to me, that's telling me there's something wrong with the scheme and coaching, because not every not every quarterback can be plug and play in every system.
Mhm.
CJ Stroud can play in multiple different systems, but whatever he has right now for the last 2 years just is not working
Nope.
at all. But yet
Yep.
Slowick, he got the most out of him. He had a great year that year.
But he played especially bad in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
horrendous. Yes.
Stroud had a bad season altogether, statistically speaking.
Yeah.
Right? Like he didn't do a whole lot this year. Yeah. Anyway,
All right.
it's a shame. I would have much rather see the Texans go further than the Patriots.
Yeah, well, I picked them, so my own selfish self-interest. All right, so that was last week. So coming up then, the conference championship games. are the Broncos and the Patriots, and then the Seahawks and the Rams.
Right.
I'm gonna say the Patriots are gonna walk over the Broncos. Bo Nix. We didn't mention it. Bo Nix, if you don't know,
Oh
got
yeah,
hurt,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Broke his
and I don't.
foot on second to last play or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird because nobody even knew he broke his foot, but I don't know how the Broncos pulled it off. So I'm gonna pick the Patriots in that game, and the Seahawks and the Rams. I think that's going to be a close game, classic. But I think the Seahawks pull it off. So I think I'm going Patriots Seahawks in Super Bowl.
I think.
Uh,
Oh, good.
I was gonna say I'm right there with you. I think the Seahawks. We just saw them unload on on the 49ers. They'll do the same thing to the Rams. That is a team on a mission right now.
Dave,
Did you want to do the other game too, or before?
you just totally skipped over Patriots and Broncos,
Oh,
Alex.
Patriots. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because they lost their starting quarterback. There's no chance.
Well, I'm going to be the contrarian here on this one
I
because
applaud that.
I think Sean Payton, because that Broncos defense is just as good as the Texans and Seattle's. I mean, last week there were a few things that they let up that they typically don't, but I think Sean Payton is going to keep Stidham out of harm's way. I think he's going to do what he does when he gets in situations like this. He's going to find ways to win. Sean Payton is not going to allow Stidham to lose him in this game. If they lose the game, it's because of defense, and that's it. And I think that they find a way, and the Broncos have thrived off of close games. I think they do like a 23-20 type of win on this one. And I'm with you on Seattle. I think Seattle, I don't want to say boat race, but I think they're going to stop the Rams right here, even though they know each other very well. I just think, just like you said, Alex, I think they're kind of on a mission right now. They're on a.
You heard it here first, boys and girls. I mean, Dave Earl picks Jarrett Stidham to go to the
Yep.
Super Bowl. All right.
And plus, I'm also motivated by one little fact. I'm hoping Stidham has a great AFC Championship game, gets an MVP in the Super Bowl. Why? Because I want to see a GM make a horrible mistake and give up a boatload of pick for him to be a franchise quarterback, only to be an average
fail
quarterback.
miserably.
Absolutely. I'm dying to see that. That'd be great.
Their own selfish self-interest. It'd give us something to talk about too.
There you go.
Yeah, look, I think the fun part will be if Seattle does make the Super Bowl, just how angry the Jets fans will be. You know, they gave up
right.
on him so quick. And
Well,
now
look at the Vikings too last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I still don't trust Darnold, but I think it's the defense is what's going to carry that. I still don't trust Darnold though.
I understand
Only
that,
the Vikings had kept Kirk Cousins, they'd have been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
Oh, sorry,
Sure.
no.
No? Oh. All
Never
right.
mind. Or maybe I just made that up.
Well, all right, let's move on. We
salary
have
cap.
Let's do the salary cap real quick and then we'll get to the fun stuff.
Yeah, because I want to do this because every year after the season, when I get around to updating the Washington salary cap for the next year, you do everything, go through everything, and calculate all numbers. I did that this past weekend, and I wrote it up in two parts. One's offense, one defense. So, first of all, I estimated the base salary cap at 300 million. Wouldn't surprise me, went a little bit higher, but 300 million. Washington also has about 20, what is the number here?
27 million, I think.
Well, yeah, they've got 3 million in salary cap adjustment and like 23 in rollover cap from last year. So add another 26 to that. So I went with 326 million for Washington salary cap. Bottom line is, when you add everything up, they've got about 70 million in free space at that level. Now, if you add in the fact that they need to program about a little over 11 million for the rookie salary pool, that takes them down about 59 million. Adam Peters has kept about 20 million in cap space, 20 to 25 million cap space both years. And so that puts the free space that they could spend, it's about 35, 40 million before they make any moves. So that's the overall. I'm not going to go over too much details of this. Um, the big cap hits on offense. We'll do defense next week. Laramie Tunsil's got 24 million. 1 year left on his contract. They could extend Tunsil and convert some of that to a signing bonus and reduce his cap hit by 5 or 6 million probably. That could save some time there. They've got almost nothing in tight ends because Zach Ertz is gone. Receivers, it's McLaurin, but they're locked in on him, and he's got a big number. Running backs is the other thing. They have literally one running back on the roster, which is Ja'Cory Merritt. So that's a big problem. And then quarterbacks, it's only Jane Daniels and Sam Hartman, who are both on, comparatively speaking, pretty small contracts. And so that is offense, and we'll do defense. Defense has got a little bit more room to move in it, so we can talk about that some more next week. That's salary cap.
All
Don't
right.
everyone talk at once.
I mean, there's not much we can say until they start making some moves with this money.
Well,
Right.
I just mainly want everybody to understand, like, the range that we're talking about, 70 million in raw space, factor in the rookie pool, they have to, and
Yep.
then you got to leave a pad, and Washington's been leaving 20, 25 million. And so don't expect, so 35 to 40 million unless they do make some moves to create more space. So that's
Yeah.
what
Right.
we're working with.
Which isn't a ton of money, but you can
Well,
make some
they're like,
improvements.
they've got like the sixth most space in the NFL. I closed
Right.
it already, but they're way up there.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Chiefs are in a world of hurt. They're 50 million over the cap.
Yeah. Well, the way a lot of these teams like the Chiefs, the Eagles too, they've been pushing money into the future like crazy as they're trying to make their runs. The bill
Right.
does come due at some point.
Yeah,
We've seen
and
it.
I went over Patrick Mahomes' contract a couple years ago. It's got all this guaranteed money that becomes guaranteed like every 2 years in the future, and
Right.
they're really locked in with that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a good
rightfully
guy to be.
so.
It's a
I'm
good guy
not
to be
saying they
locked
shouldn't
into
do it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's a tough contract. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Right. All right. So that's the salary cap. All right. Let's get to the big story that came out the day after I think we did the show. I think it was that like lunchtime on Thursday that I always hate when this is when a story breaks because it makes
happens.
it happens way too often for us. We're unlucky in that way. But the team releases renderings of the new stadium. This is like they're finally getting serious about like the stadium design. And these renderings, it looks just like RFK Stadium, almost, I'll say. Not
Right.
fully, but there's clearly an homage to the RFK Stadium. I'm sure everyone's seen them by now.
Yeah.
I have not seen one negative reaction to this design idea from anybody anywhere, other than people who are I'm still in this camp too. I don't want to see city money for it. Other than that, which you'll see with every stadium discussion, everyone's in love with this.
Yeah, we're ignoring the money part. We've already talked about the money part on this show and on
Right.
It's Just Business. So this is just the
This
design.
is just design, as about as good as any fan would want it.
Now, is there a roof on this thing?
There's a glass roof on this.
That's what I thought.
Just like the
Yeah.
LA one. LA's got the glass roof. I think Vegas too. Is that all glass?
No, I don't think that's glass. I've been in that stadium.
Okay.
That's not glass.
Okay.
I
There's
saw
just a
the
roof.
worst concert I've ever seen in my life in Allegiant Stadium,
Right. I remember you
which was
mentioning that.
AC/DC, which was not because of the band. It was because I couldn't see or hear anything in Allegiant Stadium. I
Indoor
listened
stadiums
It was
to
that good, huh?
I listened to the rhythm guitar for 2 hours. That was
Right.
about it. That's a
Oh,
whole
that-
other story, though.
That is a whole nother story. So
Yes.
the team has put these out there. Look, I'm an architect nerd a bit. Steve, you obviously work in this world a lot, dealing with.
Yeah, but I'm not impressed by design and stuff. This is really more of an Alex thing.
Right.
I can do these from a legal standpoint, but I don't care
Right.
that much.
You
about
understand the
designs.
legal and the financial, but if it was just a big square box, it doesn't make.
I
a
would be
difference
fine with it. Yeah.
to you. Right.
Some holes on the side. Boom.
Yeah,
just,
whatever.
just not windows, air holes, just straight
Yes.
air holes.
Vent holes, absolutely.
It's okay.
Yeah. As long as there's enough space for the oxygen to get in, Steve doesn't mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to make it practical. As long as it's practical, I'm fine with it.
Standing room, fine. Don't care.
Yeah. Well, see, that's not practical. You got to be able to sit down. You need a chair.
But you could fit more people with standing room.
Make more money. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. Herd them in like cattle.
Yeah.
And they would still show up.
They would. If
All
the team
that
was good, I've always said they'd show up at the parking lot of a Piggly Wiggly if they just were good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of truth to that.
I mean, I'm looking at this design. It looks a lot like RFK
Right.
Stadium, I guess.
They
sort of
have
a
the
souped up
curved
modern
roof.
version of it. Yeah.
So RFK, people think the curved roof was kind of shaped like this one. There's a slight difference. You got to remember RFK was actually built for baseball. So the curves in the roof were actually designed to fit around a baseball diamond and not a football stadium. So the curves were like closer together. But they're going to be across because it's a football field. Other than that, it looks identical to RFK. They got the slats. Some people are calling them columns, but I think they're really like more like a metal slat thing that makes it look like a giant column. They have that curve. It's the all white kind of shining, gleaming stadium, kind of like what we built in the 60s.
Now, I will say this, though. The renderings always look better than the final product.
Oh, of course.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, when is that not the case? And I remember when they did Nats Park, the final renderings ended up looking nothing like what they ended up building.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what's most important is that the fact that they got the RFK site,
Absolutely.
so it's in line with the Capitol building and all of that, and so it's a great visual, and that's what the rendering that the team put out had.
Yep.
That, and I like how the entry road is right, kind of aligned with
East Capitol Street.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's interesting to me. The design, I can take or leave it. That's really a you thing.
Oh, sure. Now, and this is maybe a little bit more of a you thing from a legal perspective.
Okay.
There is some controversy about the fact, DC has the height restriction for all their buildings.
Right.
This apparently is going to exceed it on the sides by a bit. So it'll be above that minimum height restriction or the maximum height restriction.
They might have to get city council to pass an ordinance that takes exception to the. They can do that. From a city standpoint, doesn't really bother me that much.
Sure.
The legal process to do that, you'd have to get either the city planning office or outright city council vote in an ordinance to make exception. One of those two things.
I actually think there also might be like the federal agency. Yeah, because there's that one federal like arts commission that has some oversight.
Well, the whole point to that restriction is that nothing is higher than the Capitol building, just from an aesthetic standpoint. That's what it is.
Yeah, they want the skyline to be the Capitol and the monument, and that's it. Yeah.
So it maybe there does need to be federal approval or something, but the point is the DC government can figure that part out.
Right.
That's what
it's not like it's twice the size of the Capitol. It's, I think, like a story
or whatever.
Yeah.
And they could also probably fix that in the design if they have to. If they really get down to it, they could fix it.
Just dig a little deeper.
If it's only a few feet, I mean, you could design it.
But it actually, but the rendering actually looks pretty cool though, because you see the Capitol building and monument down the center, and you see it kind of curving up a bit right there. So when you take that shot right down, it actually kind of helps accentuate it a bit. Actually, I think.
I think it will in like imagery, and I think it's gonna be kind of cool if you're sitting in that stadium, and the fact that it's gonna be a glass open space, so you can actually look down the National Mall during games. Like, I think that'll be pretty cool too, honestly. Yeah. If you can see the Capitol and the monument from inside the stadium the whole time,
especially on night games.
Would be very cool.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of in the purpose of I think the glass roof is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose is clearly to have obviously natural light in the building while at the same time weather, because as we said, if you don't, at least I've said, if you don't have a roof, the Super Bowl ain't coming.
Right.
Simple, period, the end, when you're not in a southern climate. So they have to have a roof, and so that's as close as they can get without,
it is the closest you can do for a compromise. I still, old school me hates the idea of indoor football, but
if you want to see a Super Bowl in DC, that's the only way you're going to get it.
And look, let's be honest. a lot of cities are doing this now, right? Like Chicago's new one's going to have a roof. Cleveland, I think they're talking about building a roof too.
Y'all want a Super Bowl.
That no one wants to put a Super Bowl in Cleveland, though. Let's be realistic.
Listen,
Here's,
there's stuff in Cleveland, and they could pull it off. I mean,
I'm sure they could
did a
pull it
Super Bowl
off.
in Minneapolis. That's just as
Yeah.
bad.
It will be interesting as more teams go this direction, like what changes in the criteria internally for them. You know what I mean? Because if suddenly it's like, well, we could keep putting them in Minneapolis, or we have 8 other nicer cities that we can
Right.
rotate. Why is Minneapolis? Why would you
Well,
ever
I mean,
push
notice
that?
that Indianapolis isn't exactly in the rotation. They got one,
Right, right.
and
Same
that's
with
it.
Detroit. When's the last time Detroit had one? It's been a long time. I feel like now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
They used to be a
they're
regular.
Yeah.
yeah. So the NFL takes into account what you're suggesting, Alex, which is you're not going to have a big party in Cleveland. Typically, they might do one as a
Right.
reward for doing the stadium, and then that's it.
Right, right. I
And also,
I
they don't
blame
want to
you.
do it in cold weather, just generally, very
Sure,
often. Even
sure.
as the stadium's covered. I mean, because I've said before, I mean, the Super Bowl is really about the events leading up to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl, I know nobody, unless you've been in it, you haven't seen it. I saw this, and it's all these events, and you can't, if you're snowbound and ice, and you can't do half that stuff, and that's
Yeah.
that's more important almost to the NFL than the game itself.
Oh, sure. But I think with this being the nation's capital, they will put several in the nation's capital just because
I
of the
just think
cash.
it's so much security problems having a Super Bowl in DC.
Oh, I'm
It's just
sure it will
unbelievable
be.
amount of security problems.
There are a lot of security issues, but uh, it is
But
also a
how
city that
could you
knows how to handle it.
resist with
Yeah,
the stadium that nice? How could you resist? But I
right.
just can't begin to imagine how much it's going to cost to do a Super Bowl. And even it makes the inauguration and a presidential inauguration look like chump change.
Oh,
Really?
logistically, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
logistically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The inaugurations are actually, and the nice thing is for the things like an inauguration, they've done them so they have their like
They kind of
SOP.
have a plan. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's written out. Everyone's got a copy. It's all good. They're gonna have to come up with this one for big events now at the stadium, and it'll happen. Like they'll get it,
It'll
but
happen. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, of course, what everyone's going to have to get adjusted to now is because tailgating is pretty big around the stadium here. Is when they get there, I think they said like
God.
the first, I forget who JP Finney was talking to, but for the first couple of years, there will be available spacing for tailgating. But once everything's fully developed and done,
Hmm.
tailgating is pretty much done.
I mean, I went
That's
over this when maybe it was on
Yeah.
It's Just Business. I can't remember, but I did look at the design, the amount of acreage they have and the development they want to do around it. It's just there's not going to be a lot of parking.
No, I
You
right.
think
know,
they're talking 2 garages. I thought I heard 8,000 spaces total was what they're talking about in the two
I don't wouldn't
garages.
swear to the numbers, but
But
it's not.
people don't tailgate in a garage either.
No.
Like
Well, and you
No.
can't like fire up grills in the garage. You
no.
Oh,
know,
you know someone's going to try.
Oh yeah, yeah.
probably.
You know it.
Someone of sound mind and judgment.
Being the introvert that I am, I would never ever go to any tailgate, so it doesn't
Right.
bother me personally. But I'd
So
rather tailgate by myself. So.
what I do think will happen, I think tailgating is going to evolve. There will still be the concept of tail. It'll be, hey, everyone, there's the parks right over there. People will go do things in those parks, like because the
Well, I
parks
mean,
aren't.
the point is though, you park your car, you put the
Oh, right, right,
tailgate down on your pick 'em up truck, you put your hat on backwards, and
right.
then you cook some I mean, you're not gonna
Play
walk a
some
half a mile to the
cornhole,
park.
throw some
Yeah,
brats on the grill.
No, I understand that. But I'm saying like there will be things people do that evolve what is tailgating now.
to a
You know,
certain extent, but it just
yeah,
may not be as big a thing in DC as in other cities.
sure,
And
sure.
frankly, people aren't as insane in DC as like Buffalo,
Oh
And
no,
Philly.
or Philly. Yeah,
Buffalo,
nobody's
Yeah.
as insane
Philly,
as Philly.
the ones in Texas I hear get pretty good.
Again,
Um,
I'm an introvert, man. I skip all that stuff.
right. Well, but I have like my brother-in-law is a Texans fan. I've seen pictures of the tailgates they go to. They're in massive tents because it's Texas, so they fear the sun, as we know. You
No,
know.
they don't fear the sun. They just think everything has to be bigger in Texas. That's what
Well,
it is.
they don't like being outside in
No,
Texas.
they don't. They're fine with being outside. I'm telling you, they feel
I've
like they
never
have to
seen
do
them
it
outside.
bigger. You're not from Texas. It's they feel like they have to do everything larger and bigger in Texas.
I think you guys don't survive without air conditioning. I think
I
that's
don't think you would survive without air conditioning. I don't think anybody would. We're a bunch of
I've done
weaklings
just
now.
fine for years without air conditioning. I'm not saying it's entirely fun.
No,
But,
it's
hey.
it's not entirely fun. It's not entirely fun when you don't have it. That's
Well,
for
of
sure.
course, when you're bald, it makes it a little bit easier too to tolerate. So I've
Well,
got that going for me.
Well, I do my long hair in the winter, short hair in the summer rule for a reason.
There we
Like
go.
that. Yeah.
That's what I follow too.
Right now it's super long. Yeah, Steve's hair is the longest I've seen it in a while, too.
I got to
Miss a
protect
spot.
against this horrible weather.
Yeah.
Coming up.
It's coming. You might need a hat, Steve. You might need like a nice winter cap this
I
weekend.
refuse to wear. I don't even own a winter cap.
All right, let's move on. I'm excited about the stadium. I didn't get your guys' grades. What do you, overall, even if you're not, I know you're not a design guy. How would you?
Me? Oh, I'd give it the images an A. It looks great.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, no, yeah. So far everything the way it's set up has to be an A, right there, no doubt.
And if they put a mode in, it'd be an A+.
Moat with water skier? Yes.
That's the one thing I was a little bit kind of upset about in the very beginning. I would have probably given it a D plus. At that point, as my emotions were raging on that because I really want to see that moat, but I kind of got over that, got past that, so I'm okay now.
The lawyer in me had nightmares about the liability aspects of having a moat at a football stadium.
A moat with a boat, which
a moat in any capacity is a horrible, horrible idea. Only
really
Dan
is.
Snyder could come up with something that stupid.
Well, they also had people rock climbing on the side, if you remember
Which
that.
Is equally stupid.
Equally dumb, because it's not a rock; it's a sheer stadium.
Just put some piranhas in the moat while they're at it. I mean, might as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Steve, you did our first free agency preview.
Yep.
And
okay, so
it's a fun one. It's tight ends, everybody. We're going to be talking some tight ends here, which is always
so we
fun.
do this every year. So we preview available free agents by position group, and this year. I actually got smart and did it in time so we can do one a week, not a bunch of at a time like I did last year.
Well, last year I think crammed 4 in like one episode.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, because that was kind of my fault, and partly my fault, and partly that the team, played on into the playoffs.
Right.
Anyway, so this week it's going to be tight ends, and so usually what I do is I just write up some bios of all these guys. I did something a little bit different this time, and I'm going to acknowledge up front, all you guys out there could have a variety of, very young players, free agents, and who you think may be great, and maybe they will. But I think given Washington, the status of Washington's tight end group, they need a starter, and they need a proven starter who can come in and be a number one. And so that's the approach I took in this. And so I took the top 15 by projected average annual value.
Okay.
And I started weeding them out by various criteria. And so what I started with was Travis Kelce with the Chiefs, David Njoku from the Browns, Dallas Goedert, Eagles, Taysom Hill with the Saints, Tyler Higbee with the Rams, Kyle Pitts, Falcons, Zach Ertz, Washington, Austin Hooper, Patriots, Foster Moreau, Saints, Adam Troutman, Broncos, Tyler Conklin, Chargers, Noah Fant with the Bengals, Durham Smythe, Bears, Mo Alley-Cox with the Colts, and Darren Waller with the Dolphins. And so the first thing I did is I took Travis Kelce out.
Did you say Isaiah Likely?
I did not, because he wasn't in the top 15 of the projected annual value, so you can bring it up certainly, but he didn't fall into that category.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so I took Travis Kelce out. He's not coming. And even if he did, I want no part of Taylor Swift, so I took him out. Zach Ertz is done, so I took him out. Then I took out everybody who's 31 years or old or more. That eliminated Dallas Goedert, Higbee, Austin Hooper, Mo Alley-Cox, and Darren Waller. Then that left David Njoku, Kyle Pitts, Foster Moreau, Adam Troutman, Tyler Conklin, Noah Fant, Durham Smythe. Of that group, then you look at their production in the passing game. Troutman and Smythe don't have it. So then, out of all of that, that left 5 guys: David Njoku, Kyle Pitts, Foster Moreau, Tyler Conklin, Noah Fant. Of that group, the 3 who are really the producers were Pitts, Njoku, and Fant. Um, and I think the guy who I would put number 1 out of that group is Kyle Pitts.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
no question about that.
yeah, and so, I mean, Pitts, his market value, Spotrac had him at 14.6. Noah Fant was at 3.2 million. So I think those are probably the top 2 guys that would fit in most for Washington. You guys brought up Isaiah Likely. I didn't put him in here because again, he's real young and first contract. He doesn't have the production numbers of some of these guys.
Right.
And for that matter, his value is not as high in that number, but I recognize that people love him. So of the group I did, I came down to, in order, Pitts, Font, and Njoku. So I took a little bit different approach this year than I normally do on it. Your thoughts?
I like your different approach to kind of weed it down.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting way to write the article. But I would say, to me, obviously Pitts is far and away the biggest name on this
Yeah.
list. He's the one
Yeah.
you want. He is going to cost a lot, but
14.6 in average annual value doesn't mean that's a cap hit, by the way. I mean, so
Right.
they could structure it in a way. Usually what teams do is they'll have a pretty low first year hit,
right.
real low base, and then he gets his, signing bonus, and then that gets split up over a 5-year contract. And so the big number won't kick in until year 2.
Right.
Probably.
And now Pitts is interesting in that I feel like he came along kind of slowly at first.
Yeah,
when
he
first-
definitely did. I agree.
know,
Well,
but-
his rookie year, he had a great year. Then he dipped. Then
Right,
he was
right.
inconsistent
Maybe that's
since
what it
then.
was.
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
he
because
had
I
a
think,
great year
1,200 yards
this year.
receiving.
Yeah, he was fantastic this year. So he's going to be your number 1 guy. It'll be surprising, honestly. Now, and look, when we're doing these lists early on here, a lot of these guys are going to get re-signed. Not a lot, but a fair number.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yes.
Atlanta would be foolish to let Pitts go. He's like, very key.
They could tag
engine.
him.
They could.
And there's been no indication whether they will or they won't.
Yeah. So, I look at that list and I kind of assume he'll be off the list. I actually kind of like Njoku. I know he's not
like
your
him
final
too.
3, but
No, he was in my.
I'm sorry, he was
number
in your
3.
Sorry, yeah, he was number 3. I think Njoku is a good, like, he's not going to be a world beater, but he will be stability at that.
Not only
position.
that, but he's with the Browns, and the Browns are just never.
They don't have
use
a
players
quarterback
properly. Right.
They haven't had a quarterback the whole time, so that doesn't help.
Right.
Yeah, that could be a buy low move too, with him being with the Browns.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Kyle Pitts, we're all on the same page with that one. And Njoku, I do like. But Isaiah Likely, the one thing I like about him the most is that he was behind Mark Andrews for all these years. They just got done re-upping Mark Andrews to a big contract, so they got a lot of money allocated, a lot of places. I think Isaiah Likely will absolutely be available. Now, will he follow Harbaugh with the Giants? Who knows? Maybe. But I think he's a guy with a lot of untapped potential, and you've seen it in Baltimore, just not on a consistent basis because of Mark Andrews, because of Lamar Jackson, and that running game they have out there. And I think he's a perfect fit for what you want in terms of, he's not going to be a blocking tight end, so we take that out of the equation. But he's a guy you can motion out into the slot. He's a guy that he's a mismatch on almost at any level against almost any linebacker and any slot corner.
Mm-hmm.
And he's your safety valve underneath when everything breaks down deep down the field, but he's also a great red zone potential target. He can run them seam routes. I mean, he's kind of like that untapped total package that I do see glimpses of every now and then when I see games. Now, the only issue that he has is that he does have the occasional lapse in concentration with some bad drops. That's the only thing that kind of gets me a bit on making that kind of a move. But everything else, I think he fits perfect for what you want. in this offense with Jaden Daniels.
I almost threw him into this list just because, but since I kind of had a process, I left him out.
No,
But
yeah,
you know,
I get you.
but the question would be would the team think enough of him to bring him in here as the guaranteed starter? That's kind of the way I approached it, which is why I ultimately left him out. You know, because yes, potential, but I think what the team would want is someone who's more proven, given the status of the group. Because none of these guys I have. Oh, I guess I should have gone over that. I mean, they've got John Bates, Lawrence Cager, who is a practice squatter. Ben Sinnott hadn't shown much, and Colson Yankoff, who's basically a blocking tight end. And so they don't have a real pass catching starter. And so maybe they do, and maybe you're right, but I tend to think they're going to want a bigger name in that. That's why I left him out.
So
another reason, I'm sorry, Alex, but just real quick, another reason why I looked at him too as well, because I think they got to invest so much in like getting a Breece Hall type of guy for that offense, and that's going to be some money. They got to address that defense, and they got some pieces out there that they could go after that's going to cost some money. So I'm thinking, well, we can go with a high upside with a low contract value for a guy like Isaiah Likely.
You might be,
so,
I mean, I get it.
but,
I'm not saying you're wrong. You
sorry,
might be
Alex.
right.
Well, and I think that's true about a couple of these guys that we're talking about outside of, you know, obviously the one big name here in Pitts. You know, a lot of these guys are going to be a lot more affordable than him. And let's not forget, they are paying good money to John Bates right now. Like, he's a blocking tight end, but they're paying him borderline starter money. Right, like I think he got what, $8 million a year or something like that, Steve, or was it $8 million total?
What, Likely?
No, Bates. When they remember they gave him a pretty good.
Bates has got a ridiculous contract.
Right.
Bates had a 3-year, $21 million deal, and his cap hit next year will be $5.8 million.
5.8. Okay.
Next year.
Yeah. So it blows up in year 3, is what it sounds like.
And he's got a 10.8 million hit in 27.
Okay, so that
is crazy. Yeah.
Yes, for a blocker it is. So
right.
they have two good or capable blocking tight ends right now with both Bates and Sinnott, who's kind of taking on that fullback H-back type role. I mean, I know they need a pass catcher, but you also have to talk about allocation. You can't over allocate to one position like tight end like that. You can't have multiple guys on huge contracts. So, like, I think that does factor into this whole discussion pretty heavily, quite honestly. Because, like you said, they have needs everywhere that they need to address. Finding a good value at tight end for a guy who he's a pass catcher, he might be your number 2. Bates might be your number 1. If you want to be a run-heavy team, he could be your number 1 tight end, and he's primarily a blocker. That's fine.
Yeah, but Jaden Daniels needs an outlet valve. Somebody.
He does. He absolutely does. I think you could make that outlet a slot receiver. You could make that outlet other guys. You just need to design an offense correctly, which was their problem last year. They didn't design outlets very well. So.
Oh yeah, that and everybody got hurt. But we've been.
Well, yes. Anyway, I just wanted to bring up that point because I think it is worth remembering they are already allocating some serious money to the position.
Yep. Okay, so I closed the thing. I was about to tell everybody what we're going to do next week. But I closed
position group. I don't have it open.
I got it.
Okay.
We've got quarterbacks and interior defensive line next week. Edge rushers, then corners and safeties, offensive line, linebackers, running backs after that.
Sure. In order.
In order, yeah.
If you need to rewind and play that back slow for yourself, feel free.
But bottom line is next week we're going to do quarterbacks and interior defensive line. We're doing 2 of them because it's there's no game preview because the Super Bowl is that's why we're doing 2.
It's
still there had to be one. We cut 2 weeks with 2 of them, and that's one of them. So,
speaking of just the Super Bowl bye week and stuff, I did see a little thing. I didn't mention it pre-show, but Roger Goodell continuing to push for an 18-game season. Now talking about doing 32 games as overseas, like special event games. That's insane to me.
So
that should not surprise anybody.
Every team, he wants eventually every Every organization will have a game overseas at one point.
Well, you'll technically have two, but you have one home game overseas
Yeah.
per team. Yeah. I'm not surprised by it. It's just
Look,
I don't like
it's
the
a business
approach.
strategy. They know they don't have enough business to have a division overseas in Europe or anywhere
Right.
else, and so they got to build up interest.
I get it. I still cannot like it.
Because the only way they're going to eventually potentially, because he wants a Super Bowl over there at one point, and the only way that's going to happen is if you have that interest, you have that drive, and the only other way you're going to have it too is that if you found a way of getting a division out there, because I think if you get a Super Bowl out there, I think a division comes first.
Oh yeah,
Establish
yeah.
4 teams
You
out
can't
there, and
you can never do it without having full time teams out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
so. I know that becomes a logistical nightmare because now you got to worry about, okay, so you're going to have, one team play 2 games at home and they're going to travel like what to
Yeah.
Los Angeles for a game and then
Right.
come back. It's almost like, they got to play all their divisional games out there
Right.
now and then do
Nine
all
home
of
games
their
in a row, 9 away
yeah.
games in a row. Yeah. So you bring that up. A lot of people don't remember this. The Cardinals actually had issues like that back in the day when they played at their old. What was the college stadium they played at? Was it University of Arizona? I can't remember. But
uh,
they played at a
yeah,
college stadium, and the weather was so bad. They always had to play their first month on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Every game. People probably don't remember that unless they're older, but that was the thing. They
Right.
just couldn't play home games in Arizona for a month, which is just crazy. We lost Steve. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he just
Oh,
dropped out. Oh,
yeah,
there he
Steve,
is.
there he went. He's back.
I sent you guys a message. I said the dog needs to pee.
Did you get
Yeah.
a message about the dog peeing?
Oh, did
Oh,
I not? I didn't
no, you
hit
did. You
send.
did. You did.
Okay. And see, you
Uh,
guys aren't paying
it
attention.
it didn't give me an alert. That's the problem.
No, I never got a
Whose
message at all.
whose fault is that?
It's Microsoft's fault.
Microsoft's most likely.
Yeah, we're gonna blame Microsoft.
I was not
Uh,
just ditching the show randomly. No.
Steve just wanders off the show.
I just thought you were teasing your hair or something, maybe you found a little follicle
Well,
out
I
of
was
place.
doing that. Yes.
Speaking of, people who need to walk off shows, Dave, you sent something that neither Steve nor I had seen. This Ryan Clark thing. Why don't you talk about that? That seems like a fun final topic.
He was on a panel, Dan Orlovsky was on that panel with him. I'm trying to remember, I think Marcus Spears was on there too, and then somebody else. They were talking about generational quarterbacks. I'm sorry, Stephen A. Smith was on there too as well. And they were talking about generational quarterbacks.
Wait, hold, football savant Stephen A. Smith. Continue.
Well, he wasn't doing much of the
political
talking. He was just
pontificator now.
kind of,
Yes.
yeah. But they were talking about with generational quarterbacks and, Ryan Clark. At first I thought he was nuts, just saying he didn't consider Tom Brady a generational quarterback. He didn't consider a Peyton Manning a generational quarterback and so on. I'm just like, well, what's a generational quarterback to you? And then the first name he mentioned was John Elway. And I'm thinking, okay, so I see where he's kind of going with that. John Elway was one of them molds to where he had a deadly accurate arm, highly mobile,
Mm-hmm.
and he pretty much fit the mold of any offense that you give him. And then I started kind of gathering what direction he was going with that. Now, granted, all the quarterbacks he named were all-timers, all-time greats. He acknowledged that. He says that, or something to that nature anyway. So it got me thinking, is like, so how would you guys define a generational quarterback, and who would you consider to be that guy?
Weirdly, I've thought about this a lot. I saw your tweet. I didn't watch the video. I agree. Was it Ryan Clark that said John Elway?
John Elway, yes.
I have always said I think John Elway is the greatest quarterback in NFL history, and the reason is mostly what you just said. He's got this killer arm. He can fit in any system. He was mobile. He could do anything. Tom Brady, I always viewed more of a system quarterback. And in his early days, it was really a running team. And then he had Bill Belichick's magic around him. had the benefit of Randy Moss and then Rob Gronkowski, who's undeniably the greatest tight end in NFL history in terms of passing production. There was a lot of things around Tom Brady. I didn't think his arm, he fit the system very, very well. And you're not
Right.
going to just beat the Super Bowls, but the guys who could really dominate and take over by themselves, which is what I think a generational quarterback is. Can you come in and can you dominate? Elway, Dan Marino, Peyton Manning. And Peyton didn't have the greatest arm in the world, but he could deliver when you had to. And there's probably a bunch of others, but to me, it's can you dominate on your own? Can you take over a game in any system, in any circumstance? And I think Tom Brady had, and I'm not trying to bash him in terms of ability, but in terms by this definition, he had a lot of things around him,
Yeah.
to help. So I
Yeah,
kind of agree
see,
with Ryan Clark.
yeah. Alex, what do you think?
So I don't have. I mean, I think you've got some names on there that I agree with overall. I wouldn't focus less on names, but if you're asking me, what do I think makes a generational quarterback? I do. I actually think Ryan Clark's a little mistaken because I think he's overly focused on things like mobility as like a key factor, and I don't necessarily think that you need to have every single tool to be the generational quarterback. You need to have a lot of them. You need to be accurate. You need to have the big arm. You need to have that vision. You need to have the, intangibles for sure. The intangibles are the most important part of playing quarterback, right? Like guys who are mentally, fragile don't survive.
And Brady had mental toughness.
Brady
Right.
had Brady had several of those tools, but
Yes.
he really only had the mental toughness and uh, maybe the work ethic early on. That's why he needed a year to develop. He never had a strong arm.
Yeah,
He
he
developed
needed
one.
several years
Yeah.
to develop.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But so to me, when I think what makes a generational quarterback, they might not fit every system, but they come in and they are pro ready enough to go. And they're gonna stay at the top of their game. They will evolve their game. Uh to me, it's the rare guy. You guys know generally when it comes to quarterbacks, I'm always a sit a guy for a year, let him develop or learn
Right.
on the bench
I'm
guy.
right there with you. It's better for
I think the
everybody.
generational quarterbacks are the ones that you say, no, he doesn't need to. That to me is when make that draw that dividing line, and there aren't a lot of them. Uh,
That's why they're
even
generational quarterbacks, Alex. They
yeah,
don't
I mean
grow into ranks.
Right
even
there,
Peyton
yeah.
Manning struggled for his first year, didn't he?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah, he did. Well, I mean, you could see it in Peyton Manning you could see it in Troy. Washington fans are gonna hate this, but you could see it in
right,
Troy Aikman. Troy
right,
Aikman's another one, generational quarterback. That guy, they went 1-15 as a rookie, and he
right.
struggled, but you could see it in him from day one how great he was. I
Yeah,
think. And yes,
I
he
think
had a
so.
lot around him and all of that. But to me, Aikman,
All all great
Washington
quarterbacks
allegiance
have
aside,
yeah,
Yeah.
he had it.
all great quarterbacks have a lot around them.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, because when I think about it, obviously, because Montana has always been my favorite quarterback of all time. I consider him always the greatest of all time and everything.
I didn't
But
mean to
when
leave him
you,
out. I mean, he's another one. Yeah.
yeah, he's
yeah,
in that list.
Yeah.
right, because you're talking about a guy there that he is probably the only quarterback to navigate the West Coast system the way that he did and the way he was supposed to. He suffered many interceptions because of that, because part of the West Coast system is the ball is supposed to be out into a location at the time the receiver is supposed to break. It's always been
Right.
considered one of the more complicated systems for a receiver to learn. I mean, the anticipation and everything. But when I really think and I go back a little bit further, for some reason I always want, even though I never watched him play, I've seen enough highlights on him. I've watched certain replay games of him when it was ever like years ago when he had on NFL Network or ESPN years ago, whatever, is Roger Staubach. Roger Staubach is a guy who had that mobility like Tarkenton did at that time, but he had such a good arm. He was a guy that you talk about anything underneath, anything deep, off
Hmm.
platform. no matter what he was, what position he was on the field, when he had to make a throw, he made that throw. And I mean, he was a guy that was in an era to where they had no protection for quarterbacks at all.
Sure.
You know, he had, I mean, he missed some time because of the military and everything. If you had him full start every year, like in almost in any era, he's a guy I think that transcends every single era of offense that was out there. I think
I
he's a
mean,
guy that could even be in a West Coast system. The way that he
I,
ran.
I mean, two things. One, actually, I think you're not giving Joe Montana enough credit because they innovated. They were the innovators of the West Coast system. They were
No,
inventing all
no,
that stuff.
no, yeah, no,
It's
no,
not
no,
just
no,
yeah. I mean,
no,
and
no. I'm with
Staubach
you on
was,
that. I'm just going
yeah.
back a little further,
I know,
thinking like
but
there's another name that popped in
Staubach,
my
I
head.
mean, was really before my time. I mean, I didn't really, see
Right.
him play, but I get your point, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, that's why he's an all-time great. But
Right.
generational quarterbacks, to me, it's can you come in, dominate by yourself?
And can you play in almost any system and in
Yes,
any era?
right.
That's where you get
That's
Montana,
yeah.
you get Staubach, you get Elway, you get those guys. You could put them in
Dan
any era
Marino
of the
could
game,
do it.
and they're
Yeah,
dominating those eras. Period.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think it's
Yes.
hard also to cross eras and say who's.
Of course it
I,
is.
I I can't stand
Sure.
the who's better debates in that
Well,
respect
like
because
Johnny Unitas versus Andrew Luck or whatever. I
right,
mean, it's
yeah,
totally different.
you
Yeah.
can't do it because
But I put
one,
it this
I
way,
think
I
most of
don't
these
think
quarterbacks would just be killed back in the
I
50s.
don't think if you took Tom Brady and you put him in Washington, say, that it would have had the
Oh
same
no,
career. Whereas like John
No.
Elway would have,
They-
I mean, great, yes, Dan Snyder, blah blah blah, but I mean, he would have improved any team, and I think Brady was more of the beneficiary of what was around him than some others. Say it like
oh
that.
yeah.
Not that he's not great.
Yeah, I mean, look, his entire first 5 years, I've always said it was three
He was
yard
a game
pass.
manager.
Yeah, 3 yard pass to a slot back or a tight end. That
Yeah,
that
he
was
was
And
a
a
game
great
that's all he
manager.
defense
did.
with a great running game. Yes.
There
Yep.
you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
So
he didn't have good
interesting,
receivers.
and I think the tweet you sent us probably got bashed, I'm sure, but it sounds like he actually had a point.
I think
Ryan
he does.
Clark. Yep.
Well,
By
I
the
think
way,
I think Ryan Clark gets a lot of heat because some people call him a racist because of his comments against some white quarterbacks, stuff like that, and everything. And I think people go a little too far with a lot of that. Now he does come out with some comments that are a bit out there and unnecessary with some quarterbacks,
that's what
but
he's paid to do too.
true, exactly. But this one right here, I think most people will just hear the beginning of those statements, hear Brady and Manning, and just tune them out.
Mhm.
Where if you just listen to what he's saying, he makes sense on what he's saying. And
One last point, and then we'll close it. A real generational quarterback doesn't get drafted in the 6th round. I think if you're generational, people kind of know when you're coming out that you're going to be generational.
For the most part, yeah.
yeah,
Like, Brady was an exceptional quarterback, but like no one
If
thought
we
he'd
thought
be
hard
that.
enough, we might be able to find somebody. But generally speaking, I think you're right.
Yeah, yeah. All right, guys, that should wrap up the show. Let's talk next week. This was fun. So we'll
absolutely.
see you all next week, guys.
Same
Later,
place,
later.
same time. Later.
That was good.